David Bowie never talked about fame the way most people expected him to. He didn't lead with the records, the sold-out arenas, or the costumes. When he reflected on his life, what kept coming back to him were faces, specific people, voices in a control room at 2 in the morning, a phone call he wished he'd made, someone disappearing far too soon. That's where this story begins. Bowie came up through a London that was practically vibrating with ambition. Everyone around him seemed to be reinventing themselves in real time. You'd walk into a club and find someone standing in the corner wearing something completely absurd, radiating absolute certainty that they were about to change everything. And occasionally, they did. Before the limousines and the stadium tours and the mythology, it was cramped dressing rooms, cigarettes, and records passed around like they held secret instructions. 5 people shaped him more than most. Not because things were simple between them, quite the opposite. Mark Bolan was there before either of them became what the world eventually made them. 2 young men, competitive in the way only ambitious musicians can be, watching each other's moves, noticing who got the better review, who pulled the bigger crowd. When T-Rex exploded and Bolan became enormous, Bowie watched it happen with a complicated mixture of genuine admiration and a sharp awareness that he'd better get moving. But beneath all that rivalry was real affection, the kind that forms when 2 people know each other before the myth gets built. Bolan died at 30 years old. That's an age that stays frozen. No gray hair, no reflective old age, just exactly where you left him. Freddie Mercury was something else entirely. Most performers grow when they hit a stage. Mercury seemed to transform into a different species. But in a studio in Montreux, where their paths crossed during a session, what struck Bowie most was something quieter: Mercury's nerve. You could throw him an idea, and he wouldn't handle it carefully. He'd seize it and force you to defend your own thinking. Bowie admired that enormously. After Mercury's death, the world turned him into an icon. Bowie understood why, but always felt the actual man was more interesting than the statue. With Iggy Pop, nothing was ever particularly sensible, and that was apparently exactly what both of them needed. Berlin gave them anonymity, which sounds small until you've spent years being watched. They worked. They laughed. They walked around like 2 ordinary people trying to figure out what came next. People tend to frame that period in darkness, because darkness sounds significant. But Bowie always remembered how much they laughed. Lou Reed frightened him slightly at first, which Reed would have found satisfying. The Velvet Underground had already rearranged something in Bowie's head before he ever met the man. When they collaborated on Transformer, Bowie wanted to show people the tenderness buried beneath Reed's tough exterior. He never quite knew which version of Lou he'd get on any given evening. He didn't need to. That uncertainty was the point. And John Lennon made him laugh. Before he was a real person in the room, Lennon was a voice from a record that had changed everything. Then suddenly, he was just there, joking, making suggestions, somehow both mythic and completely ordinary at once. When he was gone, Bowie said, he didn't stay gone. He'd surface unexpectedly. A song, a memory, that laugh. What Bowie ultimately came to understand was something most of us learned too late. The ordinary moments were the ones that mattered. Not the awards, not the photographs. Just someone making you laugh when everything felt heavy, or playing you something unfinished that you immediately knew was extraordinary. We are, in the end, a collection of everyone we were lucky enough to know. If that landed with you, hit like and subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from.